We're going to do something really cool today. We're going to make potato pave. Do not be scared of this dish. It's a very chefy type of dish, but once you know how to make it, it is a Bobby Dazzler. You can keep this in advance in the freezer for whenever you need it. You can just pan fry it and it's good to go. And I'll show you a couple of different ways of how we can plate this up. Give it a little bit of fanciness. Right, let's get stuck into this one. Let's go.
So we're going to start with 300 milliliters of heavy cream, and then we're going to put in 3 cloves of garlic. Just crush them. You do not need to peel them. And then a selection of herbs we're going to infuse in the cream. I'm using sage, tarragon, thyme, all from the garden. A nice pinch of salt. You're going to bring this up to the boil, turn off the heat, and let it infuse for about half an hour to an hour. So you want to peel and slice 1.2 to about 1.8 kilos of Maris Piper potatoes. Ideally, they want to be much bigger than this because it makes it way easier when it comes to layering this pave, but you got to make do with what you can. Okay, strain off the cream, it's done its job. Now slice these wafer thin. You should just be able to see your fingers through them like this. Be careful, use the mandolin, and you're going to slice straight into that cream. This is to prevent the potato from browning, which you do not want. Okay, save that trim. You can make mash or whatever you want to do with it. Gently toss your slices around in this cream to get it nice and coated. So we're going to cut some parchment paper to fit into the baking tray that's at least got a 5-inch overhang on the sides. Use the baking dish as a guide. You're going to cut in from the corners first, and then you're going to go along and see where your container ends like this and just cut across. And you're making effectively like a weird shaped cross. Then we're going to butter that baking dish, and we're going to take this parchment paper, push this in, and it's going to fit in quite nicely. The reason for that overhang is so that when we have the pave all layered up, that's going to flip over the top. I will show you that very shortly. Now, this is a complete optional step, but you can trim off the edges of a few stacks of these wafer thin potatoes just to help you get a good line for the first couple of layers. Again, completely optional, but I've been doing it for a while, so it has become habit. Start by layering in your potatoes. I think I did about 4 across. And then you're going to pour in some cream as you go on each layer. This is so much easier if your potatoes are bigger, but we have to do with what we have. Work your way through until you've used up all the potatoes. Make sure all the layers are done nicely. There's no kind of big gaps, and you've got some kind of uniformity. Fold over the flaps of the parchment paper, put over another baking dish that is the same size. Gently press this down, and another optional step is just to dot some glorious butter on top. Then fold over those flaps of parchment paper, put the other baking dish on top, gently push it back down again. Bake this for 2 hours at 330 Fahrenheit. Okay, after 2 hours, we're going to check to see if this is cooked all the way through. Get a cake tester and gently prick all the way along the pave. You will be able to tell if it is cooked by effortlessly going through like this. If there's any resistance, put it back in for another 10 minutes. Now what we're going to do is press this overnight. So this is going to help set the pave. Put something heavy in there. I've used 2 cans of tomatoes. You can even use a dumbbell and just leave it in there overnight. Okay, the next day, as you can see, bright and early, let's take a look at this bad boy. It has pressed down quite a bit, which is good. Use a palette knife and just gently go around the edges to pry it off. Invert it with your previous container. Give it a nice shake. And it should come out like, yep, there we go, lovely. Should come out nicely like that. You can take a big sigh, it came out of the mold, plenty relief. Now put a board or something else on top, slide this to the edge of your board, and in one go, be confident, give it a flip, and there we go. That is your pave. Now we're going to peel away our paper that kept all of this intact, and we're going to nicely portion this up. So peel away all that parchment paper, it's done its job, it will just easily rip off, and if you need to, you can just lift it up and gently pull it out from underneath like this. Now what you're going to do is get yourself a sharp knife and trim off all the edges. I used a serrated one. Do not throw those away, crisp them up, they are amazing snacks, I promise you. Now marvel and take a look at the lovely layers you have created. She's so pretty, Ma. A true thing of beauty. Now you can just pan fry this and serve it up as it is, but let's have a little bit of fun. Let's do a play on a baked potato. Put half a cup or 118 mils of full fat sour cream and the same for some full fat milk into a little blender with about 55 grams of cheese. I've used a sharp cheddar and a tablespoon of sherry vinegar. Blitz this up till it is nice and smooth. Pass it through a sieve. Season this with a nice pinch of salt, and we're going to put this into a siphon, which is a nice little bit of kit that you can have. Ideally, you want one which is about half the size, but this is the only one I had. And we're going to charge it with 2 canisters of CO2. Give this a vigorous shake, and then we're going to put this into the fridge and let it sit for about half an hour. This is going to give us a beautiful cheese foam, which is going to be a lot of fun. Okay, now I'm going to use a bit of beef trim that I actually had in my freezer from when I did that strip loin video, and I actually have some tenderloin trim as well. Gonna cut and scrape out any bits of fat, and then I'm gonna go through and cut this into strips. So I've got nice long strips running with the grain, and then I'm gonna cut against the grain. I'm gonna make some nice little piles, go through and just run my knife through them. We don't want mince, but we want it nicely chopped up so you have a beautiful texture. Work your way through the rest of the beef. I absolutely love tartare. You can do it with a selection of meats, from venison to lamb to all kinds of different things. So don't be afraid if you think, oh, raw beef, I can't eat it. Yes, you can once it's marinated. Put some cling film over the top so it doesn't discolor, and set that aside in the fridge. It's important to keep it cold. Clean your board thoroughly, and now we're going to brimoise some shallots. That basically means very fine dice. Cut them in half like this, scoop out that middle bit, flatten the top parts with your hand, and slice them finely. Then turn them so they're basically horizontal, and then give them a very nice fine dice like this. Run your knife through it one more time at the end, and there you have a brimoise shallot. This is why it's really important to have a sharp knife. It makes jobs like this easy. Do not get frustrated. Practice makes perfect until you can get them as fine as this. You now know what a brimoise is. Okay, add about a tablespoon of Dijon mustard, and we're going to finely slice a gherkin here. Actually use whatever pickle you've got, to be honest, even cornichons. And then also we're going to put a tablespoon of finely chopped up capers. Add a nice splash of Worcestershire sauce and some Tabasco, a nice seasoning of salt and pepper, and set this aside in the fridge, as we have to cook our pave and we want our tartare fresh. Now we're going to put a tablespoon of tallow, which is the infused one that I've got. There's a video on that on the channel. And then put in your sliced pave and gently press it down for about 5 to 10 seconds. This is to make sure you get a nice sear. We're going to start off on a kind of low to medium heat, and then we're going to build up the heat slowly so we get a beautiful sear. Just like this. Oh, that is very nice indeed. Let's check the other one. Oh, and that is also beautiful. When you do a very nice sear, it is very nice and customary to do a sear dance like this. After you've done celebrating your beautiful sear, we are going to just baste these gently from time to time with a bit of that beautiful tallow. This will just make sure everything's golden brown and delicious all over. Okay, once they're done, I think I cooked these for a total of about 7 minutes or so. Put them onto a rack to drain, not just kitchen paper, because you don't want them to go soggy. And look at these beautiful paves. Beautiful, beautiful. Season them with a bit of molten salt while they're hot. That will help it just soak in. And then we're going to plate them both up. So I'm going to put some of that chilled cheese foam that I had in the fridge. It's set beautifully, absolutely gorgeous. Put 2 blobs on there. I think that should be good. I'm going to put some chive flowers that I had picked earlier from the garden. And then I made some basil parsley oil that I had left over. And I'm just going to put a little bit of that on one of them, and just a little crack of pepper. And that is a fun take on a cheesy baked potato. Trust me, it's going to have all those flavors. Have a little fun with your plating up. This is a nice, elegant, dainty way to present a pave. You can mix up all the flavors. Now let's move on to the tartare. There's a reason we kept everything separate, because we want it to be fresh, last minute, à la minute, as we say. Mix it all together, give it a nice pinch of salt. Taste it at this stage just to see if you need to add anything else. In this particular instance, it needs a little bit more kick, so a touch more Worcestershire. Mix that through, a nice squeeze of lemon juice and a little bit more salt. I'll give it one more taste, and I think this is pretty good to go. Now, it's good to keep your tartares cold, fresh, and assemble them just before you're about to serve them to get the best out of them. Okay, now we're going to plate up. Take one of our paves, put this on the plate, and we're going to do like a quenelle with 2 spoons, just for a nice bit of presentation. Get your tartare and keep going back and forth like this and squeezing it with the spoons. Make sure that they're both the same size, because that really helps. Put that into the middle, and you got a lovely little quenelle right there. And then we're going to dress this with some tarragon, and I'm going to put some pickled shallots that I also had in the fridge, because they are going to complement this dish quite nicely. And there you have a beautiful pave with some beef tartare, pickled onions, and tarragon. Marvel, enjoy, and get ready to smash this in.
Okay, so there you go. We've got 2 very different plates here. So let's have a little taste of this. That's naughty. Really nice. It's a play on a baked potato, right? So it's kind of a way of having a bit of fun by using the siphon. So you've got that almost kind of like cheesy potato-y vibe, but then you've got the lovely chive flowers, and the oil just kind of lifts it all up. Top drawer. Now we're going to move on to my favorite, which is tartare. That's the one. It's so good. Don't be afraid of raw beef. When you do tartare like this, it's absolutely delicious. I know some people might not have had tartare and they're not too sure what it is. Try it, it is amazing. You got all that acidity with all the shallots, very nice Brimoires, and all the nice capers and everything else. Absolutely top draw. Awesome, give this one a go. Be creative, you can do lots of different things with it. And do me a favor, if you like this video, please like, comment and subscribe so we can grow this channel. We've got a next video coming up which is going to be very nice indeed on the potato theme, but you're going to like that one. Right, until then, see you later.